Yeah, so on database server, or SGA consists of the components. I'll write them shortly here. One is DB buffer cache, redo log buffer, shared pool. What is the next one? Large pool.
Large pool,
Yeah, Java
Java pool,
pool,
Stream pool.
streams.
streams pool. We got set of background processes here. What are those?
DB writer,
Huh.
log writer,
DB writer, database writer, DBWR,
log writer,
log writer,
Sman, Payman,
checkpoint process, and sorry, SMON and PMON, process monitor. Done. Now we got the set of files here. We call them as data files, redo logs, and control files. Right. Now on, we'll be going with all these short keywords, right? I hope you understood the lines even. Now this is all what we have in our database server. My database server, where I have my database. Database, as I told earlier, database is a collection of files in which all your data is stored inside the objects. Now, what are objects? Everything in database is called as an object actually. Anyhow, we'll be discussing about that later as you asked the question right earlier. I'm just trying to clear. So your tables, indexes, views, procedures, packages, functions, triggers, anything in database is a object. So database is a collection of objects, or even database itself is an object actually, right? So, okay. Now, on the database server, whenever a user, generally who accesses my database, my application, let's say this is my application server who is connecting to my database server. Let's say this is my database server on the other side, correct? Whenever a connection request is sent to the database instance, right? Combining your SGA and background process instance, a process gets created on the server. It is called as a server process. In process structure we discussed, right? We seen that. Yeah, we get a process called as a server process. Now whoever sends their connection request to database, he is considered as a client. It is a, so application becomes a client to my database, correct? Now on the application side, a process gets created called as a user process. Which process? You. So generally on the client side, you will have a process, a user process. On the server side, a process called as a server process. This is the one type of connection. Your clients are connecting. Now other way, another example, many times what happens, we connect many times, right? Many times we connect. How we connect, right? From our PC, example in our lab, we have our PC using a tool here. What tool you are using? Some putty tool, correct? Or mobile exterm. Using that, you are connecting to the database server. In your SQL practice, you did, right? What you did from the system, our PC, you connected to the database server and you got a prompt there. You connected to which user there? Not database user. You connected to OS user, right? This user connection, what you do here, this is a OS. On Linux, you will see a prompt dollar, or another one is what? Hash. Hash prompt is for root users. Root a super user. So if you see a hash prompt, basically these logins are only for super user called as a root. All other users in the Linux, they all have a prompt called as a dollar sign symbol. Now from here, what you do, I'm going to type SQL plus user ID and password. That's what you did, right? I'm not writing shortly, please. Please follow my words. So SQL plus user ID password. What happened then? You got a connected to database, a process created on the server. Again here, what is that? And from wherever you sent a request to database instance is considered client, right? So you within your server itself, you are sending a request from your OS level. A process is created. Which one here? A user. Because he becomes the client, the session, your session becomes the client from where you are sending a connection request to database. So whenever you connected like the SQL plus user ID password, what happened now? Once you are connected, you get what prompt? SQL prompt. Same way from any remote machine, application or some other database, whenever you are connecting to database directly, again you will see what kind of prompt here? SQL prompt kind of thing. Makes sense? A connection established. So these are two different connections. One, the connection request coming from within the server, we call it as a local connection. Which connection? Local. It is seen as local equal to S. And this connection which we got here, this is not a local connection. Or the server process which is running here, it is not related to the local connection. It is a remote connection. Remote connections, normally it is a remote connection, but it is seen as a local equal to no. The processes, the server processes are marked with this keyword. By looking at the server process itself at the OS level, I can see in my Windows, I can see the processes, correct? Same way you can see that. So by looking at the OS processes, you can see local equal to S means it is a local connection. Local equal to no, that means it is a remote. Two ways, the two types the connections are done. A local connection to a database, or it could be a remote connection. Getting my point? Local connection or remote connection. Two types of connections done. Once the connections are established, whatever the scenario, could be local or remote. Let's say example, a SQL prompt is given. What you do now? You are going to type your command. Correct? At SQL prompt, what you are going to do? You might say what? Select or insert, update, yes or no? Delete. These are all your DML commands. Correct? Or might be you say what? Create, alter, drop your DDL commands. Some execution PL SQL programs, execution commands are there. Different, right? So some of your, what are all these? All these are all what? These are all my SQL commands. Which commands? SQL, SEQUEL, SQL, full form, right? Shortly, we see it as a just SQL. These are all SQL commands which we execute at your SQL prompt or SQL prompt. Done. Whenever you submit the command here, your user process, what it will do? It is going to submit that statement to the server process. Even here in this case, you did all your SQL practices. You would have mentioned here select or insert or update or delete, create, alter, drop, any of these commands. What happened? Your user process, because from your session, who belongs to your session? User process. On your end, a process is running. On your session, a process is running called as a user process. It will take this statement, whatever you type, and gives it to whom? Server process to execute. So on my instance side, on my database server, on my instance, your queries are submitted by whom? Server process. Server process is the one who executes. So on the server side, server process is the one who executes your statements. Simple man, whenever I'm talking or dialing to someone and I'm trying to talk over the phone, right? Whenever a connection established, a process is running on my phone and also a process will be running on your phone. Correct? Any problem with that process, your call get disconnected. Whatever I submit, whatever I talk here, it is going to be transferred and delivered to you by those processes. These two processes are important. Correct? Same way in a WhatsApp, when I'm sending a message, a WhatsApp application, a process is running which takes the message and forwards it to you. On your end also, there will be a process which will read it and display you. Agree? Two processes are required in every communication. Same way here also, right? A process on the client side, the client could be a remote machine or it could be a local considered as a client. A process is running on the client side called as a user process. On my server side, on my instance side, a process called as a server process. User process, server process, I can say as long as they are running, a connection is established. Any problem to my user process terminated or any problem to my server process terminated. Terminated means got crashed or failed or gone, right? Automatically your session gets disconnected. You're no longer connected. Remember, right? A connection is must. As long as the connection is available, a process is running, these processes are running, you're going to submit your statements and these statements are taken by your user processes and given to what? Server process. Now what server process will do? Server process will take the statement and goes through three stages. It takes that statement and goes through what? Three stages. Three stages. Every query you submit, it will take that statement and simply goes through these three stages. Three stages. Understood? Okay. I need to clean up. So I hope you understood about the connections, the processes, correct? Right. Let me clean it up a little bit here. So I'm telling about the user process, a user process on the client side and a server process on the server side. Done? Connection established, a SQL prompt. What you will do with the SQL prompt? We execute the queries. Let's say I'm submitting a query, select. I'll normally write my SQL prompts like this, right? Whenever I give an arrow mark like this, you understand it is a SQL prompt. It is a SQL prompt. So what is the query? Select something called EMP number, e-name, job, salary, department number from EMP. Okay. I don't want all the rows. If I say like this, it will show me all the rows and only these columns, right? I want to filter the rows. What I should do? How to filter your rows? Where? Selecting the rows. Which rows? Where I can say department number equal to 10, job equal to manager, name equal to Akal Singh, anything, right? Okay. So anything example, but I'll take it here in our example. I'll use employee number as 101. Employee number as 101. This is the query we are submitting here. When you submit the statement, what happens? Your user process will take the statement and gives it to whom? Server process. Now server process will take the statement and goes through how many stages? Three stages. What are those? One is called as parse, parsing the statement. The second one is called as execution plan. And the third one we call it as fetch. The three stages through which your server process will take each and every statement. What are those? Parse, execution plan, and the fetch operation. The first stage is what? Parse. Now, what do you mean by parsing? This statement is just simply given to server process. Now, before I simply execute this process or get your data, I need to verify the statement correct or not. Correct? Authenticity checks I have to do. That is called as what? Parsing the statement. Now, in the parsing the statement, it will do two steps. In parsing, it will do two steps. One is your syntax checks. We call it as a syntactical checks. What do you mean by syntax? See, this is a select statement. I hope you all did your practice as well, right? In the select, After submitting all the column names, and they must be separated by commas. At the end, if there are no commas, there should be a keyword. What is that? From should be there, right? If you don't write from, you will get an error or not? From, and after from table name, and after that you have to write what next? Where? This is the order, the way you need to write your statement. You can't do any creativity in that. Don't do even. It won't work. If I write where up, from down, will it work? Errors, expecting from there, not where. Correct? Yeah, that's what. So please, you're submitting the statement. When you submit it, server process will do all the syntactical checks. Syntactical checks. Select, is it properly written from, and after from where? Correct? All these checks, syntactical checks are done. Done. So next, after doing the syntactical checks, it will do the another one that is called as semantic checks. What these are? What do you mean by semantic check here now in this? The question comes up. This is the query. You are asking it to go and bring data from which table and which columns you want to see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, based on condition, I need to know, the server process should verify that do you really have this table or not? Because see, when you connected a session created for you, a session, this is called as a connection established, nothing but a session, a SQL session created for you, right, on your database. How you got the SQL session? By connecting to database. How you connected? Using some user ID and password. That means a session on database created to a specific user account. Correct? You're connected to database as a user. Now that user, in that user, do we have this table or not? I'm going to verify. Which table? EMP. Who is going to check? Server process will check now what? Hey, do we have a table called EMP or not? If there is no EMP table, might be the table name is employee. What happens? What error you get? What error you get? Tabular view does not exist. Correct? You typed some wrong name, immediately you'll get an error. Tabular view does not exist. The table is not there. The name what you gave, with that name there is no table. Got my point? Okay, that is what here happening here. Where in which stage? Parsing stage, the semantic checks. It will check the table. Do we have a table or not? If not, throw the error to you. Got it? Okay, next. Not only table, if it finds there is a table with the name called EMP. Next what? Do we have a column called EMPNO, ENAME, ename? Right? Next, job, SAL salary, department number, EMPNO number. All these columns in the table I have to verify. Correct? First, I am going to check the table is there or not. Yeah, if I found there is a table, fine. Next, I am going to check do we have all these columns or not. If any of the column is not there in the table, something wrong, right? It will throw an error. Column does not exist. Correct? Yes. So your table checks, your columns checks, it has to do. Seems like the complete statement got verified. Your syntax and table exist or not, columns exist or not, those checks are called as what? Semantic checks. Plus in semantic check, what more? You connected to database as some user. How you connected from here? Let me write that one also. At the dollar prompt, let's say I mentioned SQL plus user ID password. I mentioned as a Scott, a user, password is a tiger, default. Okay, Scott Tiger, a user ID in database, we connected. I got my SQL prompt, I connected as a Scott. Now it will go and verify as a user you connected, right? Scott in our case. The Scott, does he have access on this table or not? It is going to check. On which table? Permission checks it has to do. I found first I have a table EMP and I have all these columns as it is. Now I have to check the user as you connected. That user, does he have permission access on this table or not? I have to check. Once it is done, does that user have the permissions on these columns or not to query? Column level permission, table level permissions, all these checks are done. That is called as what? Semantic checks. So in parsing, there are two types of checks mainly done. One is syntactical checks. Syntactical checks. Second is a semantic check, syntactical and semantic, right? Semantic checks, table exists or not, column exists or not, the user as you connected, that user have access on the table or not, that user have permissions to access those columns or not. All these checks are called as semantic checks. These are all done in what stage? Parsing. Once parsing is done, okay, everything is fine, then it will proceed to the next stage called as execution plan. Good. Let me continue now. Let's stop before I proceed. I hope you understood parsing, syntactical, semantic. Syntactical checks means what? Checking that select from where and all the order properly written or not. Might be it is hard coded in the Oracle software, whatever the process it is doing, right? So it is going to do. But how Oracle, my server process will know that we have table or not, columns or not, user permission, somewhere this information required? Yes or no? I need that information. Who? Server process needs this information to do the semantic checks. Where is it available? It is there in some set of tables in one of my data file. What are these? I just set of tables. Set of tables. We call them as base tables, or even we refer them as data dictionary. What is that? Tables. The set of tables, right? Basically called as base tables or data dictionary tables. Agree? Now, these set of tables will contain all the information about your database. What kind of information my server process is looking at? The table exists or not. That means what all the tables we have in database. The database contains how many tables, what are their columns, what are the data type sizes of them, how many users I have in database, what permissions the users are having, which tables they can access, which not. All this information, correct? What we call this information now? It is called as a metadata. Correct? What is metadata? Data about data. Information about your data is called as a metadata. Simple. You have bank account. Which bank? Indian Overseas Bank. What is the account number? Some account number. Which branch it is? You know that? Correct? So that information is what? About your accounting information. It is like a metadata. I'm not talking how much credit or how much debits or what is a balance sheet report. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the details. Example, I have my accounts. I have in ICICI Bank, which branch, that is a branch, what is the bank account number, savings account, current account, whatever the account number, branch, IFSC code, all these details related to my account, correct, is called as what? Metadata. Correct? So same like in database, right? How many files I have, what are their names, where they are located, what are the sizes of these files, correct? In my database, how many users are there, what tables they created, what are the columns of them, what are the names and sizes and everything, permission, all this information about your database objects are called as metadata. Understood, please? So we got here metadata. Where this metadata is stored? Where is this metadata stored? In these set of tables, and we call them as what actually? Base tables or There's so many tables are there, man. So many tables by default Oracle providing. All these base tables are data dictionary tables. Their names start or end with what? X dollar. You will be seeing a dollar sign in them. You'll be seeing a dollar sign. We call them base tables. Yeah, where we have metadata. Now seems like my server process needs this metadata. Now where is this metadata? In set of files, sorry, set of tables. Where the set of tables are there, please tell me. In a data file, in a data file. Now this data file, let me name it, called as a system.dbf. Which file it is? By default, the data file is named as system data file system.dbf. Let me give some name, system.dbf. So my server process needs this information, metadata from a file. Now files are where? Where are the files? Files are on your hard disk. Correct? Where are the files, please? Files are on the hard disk, and it needs that information. Server process will go to the file on the hard disk, reads those table, whatever the metadata required from here, no, it is going to take it and bring it into this area. Now, what is this area? Tell me please fast, everyone. What is this area? Shade pool. Shade pool is again consists of how many components? Two
Two
components.
components.
Data dictionary and library cache.
Right.
Library.
One is called as a library cache or cache. The another is a data dictionary cache. So what we got here, we got all the information here. What is this? Metadata. Metadata is loaded into data dictionary cache. From where? From where? Or
Base tables.
so that base tables are data dictionary tables. The metadata is loaded into which area? Data dictionary
Data
cache or cache.
dictionary.
Right? Is that clear? Okay, now server process reading all this data, loading into data dictionary cache. Now, once the data is loaded into dictionary cache, using this information, it will complete what stage? Semantic checks. I'm writing here something, man. Just give me the answer. What is the answer? How much? 20, right? Yes or
20.
no? What we did?
Yes.
With our eyes, you seen here on the board, data is on the board, right? You took it everything and loaded into your memory. Using the brain, your CPU, you calculated, right? And gave me the output. Is that correct or not? Have we loaded it into the brain and given it or not? I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember. Correct? Okay, now what I wrote actually here. So from where you got this information? Is it there on the board? No, right? From where you got this? Getting my point? Yeah. So we load the information, keep it in memory, right? Memory, and then using the brain, we process. Oracle is nothing different, man. Generally, we use with the way we do, it is nearly same. Because Oracle was designed by humans, the way we do, we want Oracle also do the same. The other way. Okay, fine. Understood, please? Shall I continue? Okay, so what happening here? Data is actually on the disk, on the files. Remember, always data is loaded into the memory. In which area? Data dictionary cache. Inside my shade pool data dictionary cache. And now using that metadata, it will complete what stage? Semantic checks are done. So by doing this way, the parsing is completed. Agree? Any questions now? Anyone, any questions? So I'll stop the session today here, right? And tomorrow we'll proceed further with our other things. Parallelly, side by side, we'll be discussing about the components too.